the trolley experiment, or the trolley problem, is this wonderful thought experiment that is such a perfect way to dissect all these different ideas and approaches, um, and and you do that very elegantly in the book. There's a lot of discussion of the trolley problem and all of its various permutations. Um, but I don't think that you actually answer it, Mike Schur. I don't think you actually weigh in on the trolley problem, which is kind of a cop out.
Mm.
I'm just gonna say it. And so I need you to go on record right now in the trolley problem in its most basic iteration. What is Mike Schur's answer?
Well, first of all, cop out is like the number one move on the part of philosophy professors everywhere. Like there's constant cop outs. They're always saying like, and why is this the right thing to do? You might ask. Well, I'll leave that to the reader to decide, or like I'll leave that as an exercise for the students. And like it's a total cop out, and I do it like 4 times in the book just to rub it in their faces that they do it all the time. But in its most basic form, the trolley problem is you're on a trolley, the brakes fail, there's 5 construction workers on the track, you can pull the lever, switch onto a different track, and kill one other person. And almost everyone says, yes, I pull the lever. And the reason they give is that, well, 5 people dying is worse than 1 person dying, and so I will save 4 human lives. And I believe where I land on this is I also believe it is the correct move to pull the lever, but not simply because 5 is more than 1. That I don't think is the reason it's the right thing to do. Because if you follow that line of thought, you get into some weird places where you're like, well, would you kill 1 innocent person to save 100 lives? Well, 100 is more than 1. So yeah, let's kill that innocent person. That's no good, right? Like you have the trolley problem is sneaky because it takes your own sense of who you are, your own sense of integrity out of the equation momentarily. It's like a sleight of hand trick where you don't realize that that's happened. You're just put in this situation. Both outcomes are terrible, and you're asked what you would do. And because of that, you don't think to yourself, I need to factor in my view of the world, my integrity, my own outlook on humanity into this equation. You're distracted by the numbers. So you say, well, 5 is more than 1. I don't want 5 people to die. It's better that 1 person dies. So you pull the lever. I think that the reason it's the right thing to do to pull the lever is a combination of all of the schools of thought of philosophy. A little bit, maybe the utilitarian thing of like, well, we don't know these people. They're all the same. So yeah, 5 is worse than 1. A little bit of Kant saying that if you imagine a maxim, and the maxim is we should try to spare the lives of innocent people whenever possible, which it seems like a good universal maxim. You could imagine everybody in the world following that maxim, right? So, okay, yes, then you pull the lever. It's a little bit of contractualism, which is to say, if we're sitting around, contractualism is like everyone sits around a table and pitches rules, and whatever rules we all agree to, those are the rules that we follow. So you can imagine, and anyone is allowed to reject any rule. So if you were pitching a rule in a contractualist meeting session that said, hey, if any of us is ever in a dire situation where some number of people are going to die and we don't know anything about the people, we have no personal relationships to them, they're just random people, why don't we all agree that we'll try to save as many of them as possible? I think most people would agree to that rule, right? So like when you filter the decision to pull the lever through all of these schools of thought, you end up in the same place every time. You end up as like, I think it's the right move to just pull the lever. If you only rely on one of those schools of thought, then it's very easy for someone to come along and say, aha, but how about this similar situation, which will lead you to a troubling place? And then that's where you get screwed up. So I believe it is the right move to pull the lever. I just think that the reason it's the right move is very complicated and you need to be drawing on a number of different things, including your own sense of right and wrong, your own sense of integrity about what you think is right in order to get to that answer.